Welcome, fellow path seekers, to the PathSeekers Podcast, where we talk about all things financial and about our adventure to financial independence. Today, our topic for discussion is cryptocurrencies. I'm joined today with my fellow hosts, Nithin and Kato. How are you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good too.
Glad to hear it, guys. In today's episode, we will be discussing the basics of two major cryptocurrencies, which are Bitcoin and Ethereum, as well as a brief discussion of some of the lesser known alternatives that are up and coming. After which, we will share our personal views and experiences of cryptocurrencies. But before we touch on these points, it might be a good idea to start with a basic definition of what crypto is.
Yeah, so I'll give a very basic rundown of it because we could speak for hours about what they are. So the word crypto is actually from cryptography, the study of secure methods to communicate with an intended recipient. And cryptocurrency is a digital currency that is secured by cryptography to prevent counterfeiting and so forth. They are decentralized, meaning there is no entity or entities controlling it like a fiat currency backed by a government like the Canadian dollar. The most popular technology used is called the blockchain. It is pretty much a ledger of transactions uploaded as a block, and that info is all chained together as more and more ledgers get uploaded. As it is decentralized, information is maintained peer to peer, where everyone has a copy of the ledger to ensure its validity. All the transactions are available to the public, unlike fiat currencies. And also, a certain concern is that the US government is printing an insane amount of money for the aid package right now. And this is pretty worrisome for inflation and buying power decreasing. And it seems like people have been turning to Bitcoin during these times, or cryptocurrency during these times of instability, like gold.
Yeah, I can certainly see how something like crypto would be an appealing alternative to the standard fiat currency. So, with that definition in mind, let's turn our attention to the heavy hitter of the crypto world, which is Bitcoin. So, Nithin, would you be able to give us some info on this coin?
All right. Yeah, definitely. I'll talk about Bitcoin here just for a brief second. Unfortunately, the medium that we have of a podcast is probably not the best place to explain Bitcoin in depth because it is very beneficial to visualize how Bitcoin works and just being able to visualize what ledgers are and how a blockchain kind of adds each component together really does help to explain what Bitcoin is and what cryptocurrency in general is. So we'll definitely try to link some like videos that show you great animations and things like that to explain what Bitcoin is or cryptocurrency is in a nutshell to our podcast description. But with that said, let's just talk about Bitcoin for a little bit. Bitcoin is the most prominent cryptocurrency there is, and it came to existence in 2009. And we know very little about its inception. We know that the founder was Satoshi Nakamoto, sorry, but that again is an alias, so we don't really know who that is. We just know that because the initial web page, bitcoin.org, was registered under this pseudonym. So we don't know. All we know is that Satoshi probably had about 1 million bitcoins before he put it up for the public. So the thing with Bitcoin is it has almost become a commodity in our era because there is a finite amount of Bitcoin that's out there, and that being 21 million Bitcoins. Now, it's constantly being mined, and the end is not close. It's going to take a while for us to get to the end of reaching all the possible mined Bitcoins. But because it's a commodity, the price of Bitcoin will fluctuate, especially because there's a lot of unknowns about it. But that's why it'll go down. But it'll also go up because there's a finite amount of it. And so obviously things that are finite are meant to go up in price because it's just so limited. Lots of people have been turning from bonds to Bitcoin these days, I've come to find, because it is giving you such a huge increase in your money. Even though it's risky, it's giving a lot of increase, but it's quite safe, I think, because of how many backers there are for Bitcoin at this point in time after over a decade of people investing into it. Now, that's as far as I'm probably going to take Bitcoin for now, but I think we can talk a little more about Ethereum as Bitcoin's little brother.
I think I'm with you there, Nathan, when it comes to cryptocurrencies. I'm still just surface level at understanding how some of these different currencies work. And if I'm being honest, it's not something that I really invest in heavily, but it is something that I'm interested in. So, just before I begin, it's probably fair for me to disclose that my knowledge is surface level, and to get a well rounded knowledge of crypto required for you to properly invest, it's going to take some time. But with that being said, Ethereum was created in early 2014 by Vitalik Buterin. I think that's his name. He's a Russian Canadian programmer. So essentially, you can think of Ethereum as an open source DIY platform that uses blockchain technology. So, again, to reiterate, it is a platform, it is not a currency. The real currency, if we were to think of it like that, comes from the creation and use of contracts, smart contracts. These contracts are built on top of the blockchain technology, as Cato recently explained. Their blocks of information, ledgers of transactions are all kind of chained together. So, if you kind of put this in other words, by using Ethereum technology, people can essentially create smart programmable contracts that keep records and that will only execute when certain conditions are met. But what's particularly brilliant about Ethereum is that it is decentralized, meaning that there is no intermediary or fiat currency involved, just simple direct transactions between one person and another. Because this platform requires a lot of computing power, there is a cost, which can kind of be seen as the fuel for the transactions that take place. Ether is the fuel that Ethereum uses to pay for transaction fees and computational services. Currently, there's an update that's slowly unfolding for Ethereum, known as Ethereum 2.0. And when this update is complete, there will be greater speed, efficiency, and scalability within the platform. Now, with all of that said, if the bigger, more well known cryptos aren't your thing, it might be worth taking a look at some smaller but nonetheless promising altcoins that are available to us. And so, for that, maybe Cato, you can give us some info on that.
Sure. So, altcoin pretty much refers to coins other than Bitcoin. And some of the major ones that come to mind are Ripple, or actually XRP. I'll get more into that later. Litecoin, Dogecoin, because of Elon Musk tweeting about it. Bitcoin Cash, and I believe it's Zcash, because we say the word or the letter Z differently here in Canada. And Dash, Monero. So the amount of coins out there are staggering. And according to the stats by Statista.com, there are over 4,000 different types of cryptocurrencies in 2021. Now, there's even something called NFTs, or non fungible tokens, and they're pretty much one of a kind tokens that hold assets like digital art, as opposed to a Bitcoin, which is fungible because one Bitcoin is the exact same as another. Now, NFTs are quite new, so I'm still learning about it myself, but a lot of the excitement about it is for artists and how they can sell their original work through it, just like a person can buy an original painting. Actually, Elon Musk not too long ago offered to sell his tweet as an NFT, and that got $1 million offer, but he turned it down saying it doesn't feel quite right.
Quite like Elon to do that, isn't it?
Yes.
Thanks, Cato. That's really interesting stuff, and it's kind of hard to comprehend, but it's going to be really interesting to see kind of what develops in the coming months and years. So, with a basic understanding of crypto, let's talk about our experiences and opinions. So, Nathan, let's start with you. What has been your experience with these currencies, and what are your thoughts about having crypto in your portfolio?
Okay. Well, my experience with cryptocurrency is probably rather new when it comes to investing, but in terms of being around it, I've been a part of it probably since 2014, 2015. One of the more important times that I knew about it was actually when Cato brought it to my attention when he decided he was going to get a wallet and purchase this cryptocurrency. And I did a little more digging into it and understood it a little more. But at the time when Cato and I were talking about it, I wasn't willing to put in the work of actually buying a wallet and figuring all this stuff out. And
I remember that.
yeah, right? Like just it was so convoluted. I said to myself, I'm not doing this. Do I regret it? A tad bit. Do I regret it that much? No, not that much. Because at that time the price was already sitting at like 21,000 or something like that, I think, and I didn't think it was going to go any higher. I thought it was ridiculous. But what did I know? It sitting at 72,000 now. We're talking in Canadian cash, everyone, just so you know. But yeah, I started investing probably over a year ago now. And I started investing because it has become so much easier for you to get into purchasing Bitcoin and just cryptocurrency in general. For example, the app that I use to purchase cryptocurrencies is called ShakePay. It allows me so freely to buy cryptocurrency of Bitcoin and Ethereum. That's all they have right now. I'm not looking for altcoins at all. So this works perfectly for me. They take off a margin of what you're investing, and that's how they make their profits. So they don't really take a fee for trading other than what they skim at the top of what you're actually buying and selling, which you can say can be a lot, but honestly, it's not a big deal for me if it saves me from the hassle of actually setting up a wallet and purchasing these things through other sources. This allows me to just go straight from my bank, deposit a bunch of money into ShakePay, and set the amount that I want to purchase and purchase it. And so I've done it. I've probably 5x'd, 6x'd my money already, and I'm perfectly happy with what I've put in. And I often actually trade between the currencies. I will sell out of Bitcoin at some points and invest into Ethereum, and then take out of Ethereum and put back into Bitcoin. And I've played the market just a little bit, and I've had quite good returns. So, anyways, that's kind of my experience. I have done fairly well with cryptocurrency, but then I guess pretty much everyone except for the one guy years and years and years ago, the first guy who bought a pizza for 10,000 Bitcoins or something like that. Other than him, I think most of us have done well in investing in cryptocurrencies over the years. So, congratulations to all of you who have bought into Bitcoin at an early stage. Even now, congratulations to you for buying Bitcoin, because I do see it going to the moon. And all of you with diamond hands, I suggest that you stay with it, because I am constantly investing more and more into it. I have a wedding coming up, but still I'm investing into crypto. I've set myself aside a budget to put into crypto, and I've set a budget to put into my stocks in general. So yeah, guys, I highly suggest that you get out there, get yourself invested. If you're afraid of it, put at least 1% of your wealth, 2% of your wealth into it. It will definitely get you to see a return on your money that you'll be more willing to put more money into it. I don't say that in a dangerous sense that you would put so much money into it, but I say it in a sense where you're like, okay, there is something here, and you'll research more about it and you'll learn and understand more about it, that you're going to want to invest more into it. And that's the stage I'm at. And I've seen that Ethereum right now is probably the place to be, because it is cheaper to buy first and foremost than Bitcoin is. And the growth potential just seems to be much higher with Ethereum, in my opinion. What do you guys think, Kyle and Kato? Do you guys also feel that way, or are you guys thinking that Bitcoin is probably going to soar?
I've always been more optimistic about Ethereum. I just feel like it's more flexible and there seems to be more hype behind it. But as far as the actual technical
Mm-hmm.
reasons behind it, I don't really know a whole lot about crypto. I'm just on the hype train. So
Gotcha. No, recently I sold out of Bitcoin. Like I was heavily invested, probably 90-10 into Bitcoin versus Ethereum, but I've switched that to 60 Ethereum and 40 Bitcoin, surprisingly. Well, you guys, in a couple of episodes, you guys can call me out on it or something like that. When Bitcoin hits 100,000 Canadian, you can be like, you nincompoop, why'd you go and do that? But honestly, I think Ethereum's sitting at a really good point right now that you can invest to it and expect it to skyrocket much, much more, especially with things like NFTs popping up, right? Like NFT is linked with Ethereum and runs off the backbone of that. And so I don't know what else is going to pop up like NFTs. There can be many other things running off the backbone of Ethereum and promoting Ethereum's price to go up. And I think more of my money that comes into play will go into Ethereum. Even if Bitcoin skyrockets, it doesn't matter to me because I think, a good investor, what they do is they look for long-term companies and invest in long-term companies that have good growth potential and enough about. And so I think for me, Ethereum is that stock, is that asset that will allow me in the long term to be higher and better off than Bitcoin would allow me at this stage, at this point. If I were to invest in Bitcoin probably 5, 6 years ago, then yeah, 100%, I would choose Bitcoin over Ethereum. But this point where we're at today in 2021, I would definitely have to say I'm sticking with Ethereum. But what's your opinions on that, Kato?
I think that Bitcoin and Ethereum, they work very closely hand in hand. So if
Mm,
Bitcoin is going up, I really feel Ethereum will go up with it, if you know
you
what I
think so?
mean. Like, and
Yeah.
all these coins, well, most of them anyways, like the major ones. So because they use that similar technology, right? And sure, there are differences in it, but in the end, I feel like if one of them goes up, it's like a general trend of most of them.
Yeah, definitely. Which do you think has a more growth potential, right? Because that's what matters
Hmm.
nowadays. Like already Bitcoin sitting at 70,000,
Hmm.
you are expecting it to go to 100,000 by the end of the year. Most people are expecting that to be the case, or 100,000 US, sorry, not
Hmm.
Canadian. I just wonder if Ethereum has more of a growth potential or not.
Yeah, that's definitely a good question.
That's where I'm hedging my bets, right? So like I wonder what you guys are thinking and where you guys are investing into.
Yeah, I think, well, I personally think that Bitcoin has bigger growth potential just because it's well known. It's kind of set itself up
Mhm.
in its, what would you call it, has its own moat in a way
Mhm.
because it's so well known as being the cryptocurrency,
Mhm.
right? Ethereum is a little more to the side of those that truly understand it, right? Not for the general masses, like the people that make programs and the ones that,
Definitely.
work on that aspect of things. And just because of that, I feel like it'll be a little bit smaller.
I see cryptocurrency replicating what we see in our stock markets, right? Like
Hmm.
you have your stocks that have huge growth potential, and then you have your commodities like gold that keep its value, right? And right now, Bitcoin, I don't think is at that stage where gold is at, where it's, kind of stabilized. It's still growing. But the way that I see it in the long run is that Bitcoin, due to its limited nature, is going to be a commodity that will stabilize what your money is worth. Whereas Ethereum, I would take it out more like an asset, like a stock that's like Apple or Google,
Hmm.
whatever it may be, Tesla. Like it has constant growth potential. I think that surpasses what gold would be, right? What gold
Hmm.
would be worth. So I think one day, I don't know what day that would be. I don't even know if I'll be alive. I do think that Ethereum will surpass Bitcoin, but I don't know if I'll be alive to see it. Maybe I will. Who knows?
Yeah.
And like the biggest thing that draws me to it is like what Kyle mentioned about Ethereum just being sorry, how did you describe that, Kyle?
Like flexible, or
That it's more of
I don't know. I feel like there's more you can do with it.
exactly. Ethereum's more of a DIY platform, you said, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
So you said it's more of a DIY platform. A lot more can be done with Ethereum than Bitcoin is. Bitcoin is like cash,
That's a good
right?
point.
It is a coin. But with Ethereum, there's lots of creativity, lots of, like Kyle said, lots of flexibility for you to add onto it and build up different programs, right? So let's see. Let's see where things goes. I would definitely love to know what our listeners are thinking about it and where they're hedging their bets, whether it's Ethereum or Bitcoin. Or even altcoin. I know lots of people are jumping on the Dogecoin, and If you guys don't know the history of Dogecoin, please, for some entertainment purposes, get out there and research it. It is hilarious. Yeah, that's all I have to say. But Kyle, what has your experiences been like?
Well, thanks for sharing, Nathan. It's really interesting to talk about. For me personally, my experience with crypto is very recent. I first began taking an interest in these currencies only in the last year or so. So a few of my favorite YouTubers like Andre Ejik, Graham Stephan, especially Andre, started posting more and more videos about crypto, and really their hype and optimism surrounding these coins had really captured my interest and had encouraged me to do some more research of my own. This research phase was pretty casual, and it lasted for like 6 months or so. During this time, I also had several conversations with friends and with my brother in law, who's really big into crypto. So I could definitely tell that it was something that was picking up steam. And at one point, my brother in law gave me $10 worth of a currency known as Bitcoin Cash. I'm still not quite sure how it's different from Bitcoin. All I know is that he gave me $10. I forgot about it. I checked on it 6 months later and it doubled. And it's a small amount of money, but when you think, okay, what if it was 10,000 instead of $10 and it doubled, right? Like it's mind blowing, right? So, and it wasn't just Bitcoin Cash either. Many of the other major players in the crypto world had made huge leaps in price. And this blew my mind because my stock investments on average typically can take anywhere between 5 to 10 years to double. So, of course, with all that being said, I know that crypto wouldn't keep doubling every 6 months indefinitely. I mean, there's eventually a point where that level of growth is unsustainable. But we were pretty early in the crypto game. So even now, there's such great potential to grow. So after my experience seeing that money double, I eventually took the plunge and I bought some Ether on Ethereum using an app called ShakePay, which of course was recommended to me by Nithin. And I have nothing but good things to say about it because I've tried using lots of apps and websites trying to figure out how to use it, but that one works quite well for me. Compared to a lot of apps and crypto sites out there, ShakePay is probably the easiest to use, at least what I can tell so far, and I'm sure there's other good ones that are being developed or have already been developed. Unfortunately, they only allow for Bitcoin and Ethereum trading right now, but maybe that will change sometime soon, and I kind of hope it does. But sure enough, after waiting only a month or so, I made enough profit to cover my Christmas spending, and I unfortunately cashed out at this point because I felt a little too nervous leaving my money in the app, as crypto can definitely be very turbulent. And I say unfortunately because a couple months later, that Ethereum that I had skyrocketed to 4 times higher than it was the day I bought it. So that has been my experience so far. But now for my opinion, although I can't accurately predict how cryptocurrencies will perform in the coming years, I do think that many of them will stick around for a long time. I also think that crypto will be normalized, that it will increasingly be used by consumers and corporations alike. And I think it may be a good addition to your investment portfolios. Although, for the time being, I would personally cap this at 10%, preferably less of any portfolio due to the turbulence and relative infancy of this asset. But please do your own research and consult the appropriate individuals and resources because I'm not your financial advisor and I really don't know a lot about crypto. But bottom line for me, I do see the potential of these currencies, but I am more interested and more comfortable with stock market investing. I like to put my money in companies that I can clearly understand and that have solid financials with consistent upward growth. I have not put any money back into crypto, but this probably will change at some point for me. So, with that said, that's my experience and some of my opinions. How about you, Kato? What are your experiences like?
I was actually dabbling in crypto back in 2017. I think Nidin, you mentioned 2014 or 15, but it was actually about 2017 because the price in 2015 was like 300 or something. And then the price in 2017 was, yeah, around 2000.
Yeah, it was the time that I started picking up on just understanding like that this is a
Hmm.
thing was like 2014. So I was already
Okay.
late to the game. And then
Yeah. Well, that would have been early for me, but
yeah. And then when you brought it to my attention, we were already into 2017 and
yeah.
I was like, yes, I do remember this, but is it actually still a thing? And so
Hmm.
that's kind of where we were at. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So 2017 was when I really started getting into investing also. And of course, I didn't remember it's me going up to him and all that. And I was reluctant at putting in for a whole amount of Bitcoin. Of course, big mistake. And at the time, I was glad to find out that you could buy partial amounts of it, like how a dollar can be broken down, and that you can do the same for a lot of other coins too, if you don't want to get the whole one. However, before purchasing, I did a lot of research and read into it, especially because purchasing them back then was quite a task, unlike now where there are many options like ShakePay or Coinbase. So I researched for a few months before I decided that I really liked the technology behind it. Like the applications of how it could be used were really intriguing. For example, the cryptography features help with secure transfers of medical information, international payments, money laundering protection, and so on. So it was attractive because of how volatile it was. So people are always saying how volatility is bad and scary, but me personally, I love it. In my opinion, that's where the money is made because you can have a huge jump and they would still consider that volatile.
I feel like we need to go to the casino together, Keto.
Well, there's
Sit across from each other.
well, there's calculated volatility. But of course, there's a lot more to it that you have to factor in, right? Which we might get into a podcast one day. So, the technology behind Bitcoin and Ethereum was something that I wanted to invest in. And Ethereum, I know Kyle mentioned it, but it allows developers to build and run applications on it. So, it's kind of like a conduit for programmers to work with that blockchain technology. And I think the possibilities are endless. And it's like Shopify providing people with the access to easily transition their ideas into businesses. That's why I love it so much. The third cryptocurrency I invested in is XRP, and the company or network behind it is called Ripple. So, this is more of a faster, dedicated payment network technology using blockchain, such as Bitcoin, because Bitcoin can actually take quite some time to process transfers. I read back then that some banks were partnering with Ripple for cross border payment processing, along with the famous South Korean messaging service named KakaoTalk that all South Koreans use. And they were possibly using it as a payment on their platform. So I thought if banks were using Ripple, then why would I want to bet against them? But what I didn't know, as this was in my early investing days, is the risk that the company Ripple could be scrutinized by the SEC in a lawsuit claiming that XRP is a centralized currency, unlike Bitcoin and Ethereum, and that they failed to register it as such. So it's still in courts. We'll see how that pans out. However, with the recent spike in value in all cryptocurrencies, I actually sold some to recuperate the money that I put into it. So I have nothing to lose. So I'm going to leave the rest of it in there now because I have a lot to gain if it keeps going up. So to store my coins, I went with cold storage. So cold storage is offline and hot storage is online. With cold storage, I purchased a physical wallet, which is a specialized USB. So it's not something you can just go to Best Buy and buy. You have to go to a specific provider that makes these, and it holds my coins offline. I was worried that the online wallets were not secure enough, and good thing for my paranoia because I actually would have lost a lot back then if I kept it online in the brokerages in those wallets because at the time some of them don't even exist today and actually disappeared with people's coins. So I guess it's the risk associated with decentralized currencies.
That's very interesting. Thanks, Kato. It's I've always been fascinated about how those physical wallets work and how you use them. And I think for me, who's always, thinking about how my investments are doing, that might even be something worth purchasing for sure.
Definitely.
All right, guys, we are about to end this episode. Is there anything more that any of you would like to add?
Yeah, actually, maybe I'll add one more thing. So recently, ETFs have been a thing for cryptocurrencies because there's just so many of them out there now. ETFs, if you don't know, is exchange traded funds, and it's a basket of many different items, stocks, most likely. But right now, there are ETFs for cryptocurrencies. If you are the type that, you know, you see that cryptocurrencies is the way of the future, but you don't know where to invest, maybe at the very least, put some money into ETFs. But honestly, your best bet is really doing your research. finding out which currency really you see has the most potential for growth and where your money would be best placed. And secondly, finding out which platform you should invest through, or whether you're going to go through the hard route, or sorry, not I shouldn't say hard, the more labor intensive, I guess, is a way to say it, work of actually getting a wallet and plugging your currencies into the wallet itself.
Yes, it does take.
It does take work, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So do your research, do all of that, but at the very least, if you don't know where to go and you already have your TFSAs or something set up and you want to invest into these ETFs, feel free to do that at the very least.
I would also like to reiterate the importance of not putting all your eggs in one basket, so to speak. I think although there is a lot of potential when it comes to crypto and the different cryptocurrencies out there, it is important to look at some other asset classes as well. So, looking at the stock market, looking at real estate, I think it's really healthy to have a good balance of varied asset classes in your portfolio.
Yeah. I'd like to also add that I would caution people that just like fiat currencies, there are a ton of scams out there, from websites posing as legit ones to those cold storage wallets being hacked and sent to you. So, whatever you do, make sure that you're on the official page or provider for whatever service you use. And also, never buy a used cold storage wallet. Always buy it brand new from the main provider.
That's a really good point.
Good tip.
Mm-hmm.
So don't buy it used from you. Is that it, Cato?
I'd buy it from Cato. I trust him. Give me your Ripple, your Bitcoins. I'll take all of it.
He could be scamming. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, all right. I guess that concludes our 6th episode of the PathSeekers Podcast. Thanks so much for joining us. If you have found any value in our discussions, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. It helps us out a ton. And with that said, I'm Kyle.
I'm Niven.
And I'm Cato.
And we'll see you guys next time.